Hi everyone, this here is the slides for the brown bag sharing for the topic of beyond the screens. So I hope that through this sharing you'll be able to help parents and help students to find ways to engage themselves more meaningfully beyond the use of computer games. So this here will have quite a bit of information, but if you need the handout to make it a bit easier to follow through the video recording, just let me know. I'll be more than happy to share the handout with you. So caveat first, a lot of this information was gotten from a training session that I attended recently, as well as the help of ChatGPT lah. So I'm definitely not the expert on this, but I had compiled different information from different areas. Hopefully this helps you a little bit before you deep dive into some other areas that you're keen to read up a bit more on. Okay, so for today's sharing, there will be some components here. There will be a hands-on pair activity. Since you are watching this from home, you can play this on your own first lah. Okay, then the next one is I'll go through Glass's choice theory, which gives a bit more insight on why students play games, and then I'll go deeper into Toolkit to engage parents, as well as other resources you can rely on to help you to engage parents more meaningfully. Yeah. Okay, so to start off, right, while you are on your own at home watching this, I think it's meaningful to give this a try first lah. Yeah, so this here is a mini competition you can play yourself. So you download this, and then your main goal is to clear as many levels as possible. Okay, so the game is fairly simple. It is a logic based game. You just try to remove these bolts within the set timing and make all the bolted planks fall down within the given time. Okay, so sorry, I can't play this video. Basically, you can search online to see how to play this game in case the tutorial of the game is not clear enough. And then you set yourself a 7 minutes timer, okay, and then you go through the process of playing this, and you must stop when the timer strikes 7 minutes. Okay, so you can pause the video, you go and download, and you go and play for 7 minutes first. Alright, okay, so how do you feel from the gaming experience? Especially if the game is new to you, how did it feel? And when the timer stopped at 7 minutes, was it difficult to just stop halfway? Especially if you're like, you just have a few more bolts left, are you able to immediately stop? Like when we say pens down during the exam, time's up during the exam, are we able to stop immediately? How did that feel? Okay, so while you're reflecting, maybe these were some of the emotions that came up. Alright, so at the beginning when you're still figuring out, it can be a bit frustrating, but once you get the hang of it, it can be quite fun, right? And then especially when you're able to finish the different levels within a short frame of time, and your timing gets shorter and shorter, and you don't have to rely on any of the additional help, it can be quite satisfying. Okay, or when you feel that, okay, the first round my plank got stuck, then you retry again, then you have to keep testing and try different configuration, then it forces you to think out the box, right? Yeah, so for the people who are playing this during the brown bag session, maybe it was quite fun because you're not working on it alone. It was quite fun playing with another person. You can have two heads working on something similar, or alternatively it's quite frustrating because you have a hard time coordinating and then figuring out what step to take, and it can be a bit irritating if your partner refused to listen to your suggestions, and then you all didn't manage to drop the planks in time. Yeah, or you really want to get the reward at the end of the 7 minutes, right? You're very focused, you didn't really care about what everyone else was talking about, you just want to make sure you clear every level as fast as possible. Okay, or very competitive, you just want to win, okay, you're really in the zone. Yeah, or some of you, while you're quite calm, quite chill throughout, you felt that, actually this is an interesting challenge, it kept me going, and even though there's no like prize at the end, right, you just managed to clear different levels, it's quite fun. Yeah, maybe that's the experience. Yeah, so actually you imagine if we as adults, right, we feel all these emotions within just 7-10 minutes of the game. You imagine for students with underdeveloped prefrontal cortexes, very poor impulse control, how much more powerful these feelings will be from these students who rely on these games to meet their unmet needs. Surely it will be much more challenging, right, for them to manage all these sudden switch in emotions and to get them to move from one activity to the other. Yeah, so today what we're going to focus on mainly is this thing called the classes choice theory. I think Ainsley might have shared something similar about this here from another brown bag sharing. I'm not 100% sure. I need to check on that. So this here, basically this theory is that we behave in ways to meet 5 of our basic needs. Yeah, so our Maslow hierarchy is one I think we're all familiar with. This is another theory that is helps us to better understand why people behave in a certain way. So we may behave in a way whereby it helps us to fulfill our survival need. So the survival one, I think back in long, when things are, food is not so readily available, water is not so readily available, people may focus more on that first. But then now in modern day Singapore, right, the survival part will be more on stress management, sense of safety in school, you don't feel bullied, you're able to manage your emotions. So that's on the survival part. Then the second need is more on the love and belonging. I think we all know that humans are very social creatures. We cannot go without having friends, without having connection. So the desire to feel accepted, to feel connected to others, to feel that you're part of a group is a very strong need. And then for some people the sense of power is actually very important. Power not in the sense that I am like the top of the food chain, but power as in that I feel competent, I feel good at something, I feel recognized for a skill that I have, or talent that I have, or an achievement that I have. And then for number 4, it would be freedom. So I think in school there are a lot of things that are fixed for us, or in the home front there are a lot of things that are very routine. There's not much room for experimentation, there's not much room for autonomy, for example. Then this need for freedom can come out very strongly. Yeah, and then the last part, it can just be pure fun. The desire to discover, desire to relax, the desire to just enjoy, be curious, and see what this is about, and then just relax, just for fun. So do you know of any students who are avid gamers, right? And you know that the reason why they are so into games is because of any of this. And I'm sure that when we think a little bit deeper, we find out a bit more about what the student needs. We can clearly see that they're playing certain games because of one or two of these needs here. Okay, so how does this need show up in gaming, right? So this need shows up in gaming. For number 1 is perhaps it's a coping mechanism. Things are very stressful, home is very unstable, or school is very difficult, they need a safe space. This is like a form of escape. So this, if it's not a form of escape, then it can be also a form of relaxation. You can actually alleviate stress, because the games are meant to be very addictive. The games are meant to make you want to play continuously, because it is very rewarding. When you clear levels, it's very instant, so that instant gratification does help to alleviate some of this stress. But the problem is that when we are overly reliant on games for stress relief, right, then of course this can worsen real life behavior, so real life functioning. It can make them more anxious if they're not tackling the main reason why they are stressed in the first place, the family conflict in the first place. It's just a form of escape. And if they're overly reliant on it, of course it is not healthy in the long run. Then for the second one, which is in the form of love and belonging, some students love to play multiplayer games. So they play all these games that are shown here. For instance, they form virtual communities, they play a game where they work with their team, and then they fight another team, and it feels good. You are part of a team, you are included, you are playing together. So I think now the teenagers will not really be playing under the void deck, play soccer, that kind of thing. Their communities are online. So this is just another way whereby they're still making friends, they are still connected to people, but it's virtual now. So the thing about this is that for some students who may not gel very well with their classmates, they, for some reason or another, they find it very difficult to make lasting friendships. Online communities is another way they turn to feel the sense of connection, to feel a sense of belonging with another group of people. After, for example, if they've exhausted all their ways to make networks in the school. So if they find that the online community is a lot more accepting, be it in a genuine way or in a more dangerous way like grooming or what, right, the thing is that the online community will end up being more attractive, because that's where you feel belong, right? So that may lead to further issues like maybe game dependency or gaming disorders or addiction. Okay, then the next one is about power, because I think all of us want to feel good about something. So games, like I said just now, the feedback is instantaneous, and the feedback is in a way whereby it's not very risky. So like for example, students get feedback for assignments, get feedback from exams, assessment, all that, but it's always attached to like, oh, you're good at your studies and whatever. But for games, right, it's less risky. Yeah, you can have a, like, if you lose a life now, what's the big deal? Your life will refill again in another half an hour or so, or you can even buy to have unlimited lives, for instance, right? So you do feel a sense of competence because you can see your skills have that spiral progression. You can dominate leaderboards, you know, you can have in-game achievement, you can rank play, and wow, that really feels good. So that leveling up mirrors how students feel good when they achieve something in their studies or achieve something in their CCA. Yeah, so students gain a sense of power and control lah. So especially if they don't feel a sense of power, or they don't feel a sense of achievement in real life, right, then they may turn to playing games. Okay, then number 4 is about the sense of freedom. Okay, they are able to have different self-discovery, they have very free play, so they have the autonomy to explore different environments, they can experience with different identities. If they want to play this character, play different personalities, right, they just can do whatever, and basically it's a very open space lah for them to try. They have that autonomy. So this here, however, the problem is always when students become overly reliant on games lah to fulfill this sense of freedom. Yeah, then it will become a problem. And the very last one here is the sense of fun. So we know that for the game companies, they really invest a lot in understanding the psychology of the players, and it's purposely designed to be as addictive as possible. So how they make it addictive is that they rely on the neurochemical reinforcement. So you can see here on this chart, right, you can see on the y-axis is about the how difficult, how challenging the task is, and on the x-axis is how skillful you need to be. So if the skill is very, very low skill, right, it's not very challenging, then you will feel very bored lah, because this one is not something exciting, you're just going through the motions, it's not engaging. But on the other hand, if the task is very, very, very difficult, then you get very anxious, you get frustrated, or you keep failing and it doesn't feel good, right? So the flow zone that the video games can create, right, makes you feel that there's a good balance between how challenging it is and how skillful you are. So as a whole, it just makes you really into the zone, and you can spend hours on it, especially when the feedback loop is so instantaneous. Yeah, so the problem with this is that if they don't feel this flow in real life, then they will rely on this flow online lah. Yeah, so the problem with this is that when they repeatedly chase after the fun that this game provides, be it in a form of rewards, or be it in the form of loot boxes, when money is involved, then it becomes a bit more problematic. Okay, so you can try this out, you can figure out which one, how these emotions fulfill different needs. Okay, and this here you can check it out on your own, right? Different motivation, different reasons why different games engage the player differently. Okay, I'm going to skip ahead. Now, what we can do when we talk to students, or we tell parents to talk to students, right, is that it's very important that we are non-judgmental, we be as curious as we can first, we try to connect with the person before we can correct the person. I think that when you talk about games, right, students automatically become a bit more defensive lah, because the idea is that, oh, gaming is bad, you know. And if you go into the conversation with this kind of mindset or this kind of tone to begin with, right, it's not likely that the conversation will be very productive. So you can tap on these 3 areas to talk to the student about why they are playing the games. You know, what do they enjoy the most, how do the games help them to relax, do they like the challenge, you know, what exactly about the games do they like. So have a very open mind, have a curious stance lah. Yeah, if we go in having the conversation like, wow, games are bad for you, you know, you're always addicted, you don't study enough, then we know lah, the students will definitely not open up to us, and that gets the conversation nowhere. So if you want to find out the deep need that these games fulfill, right, then we must make the space a safe space, so that they are able to open up, and they are able to really share with us that, oh, actually I like playing games because I can play with friends, blah blah blah. And then you can dig a bit deeper. Is it because you know, you don't have much chance to play with people in school, or what? Yeah, so keep that as an opportunity for deeper conversations. Okay, so when we talk about engaging parents, right, I think we have to be very clear that it's there's no magic solution lah. Yeah, parents also have to have this understanding before they can engage their children meaningfully. So if they ask you for advice and they expect like instant solutions, you can tell them very frankly that's not going to work lah. Yeah, so when we engage our parents, right, we also need to know some of this information first so that we better know how to advise them. Okay, so this here is just something for you to come back to, so in case the toolkit is a bit too overwhelming, right, you can come back to this to figure out what I'm talking about lah. Okay, so the very first one is this Bronfenbrenner ecological theory. I think we cannot run away from these theories to interpret some of these phenomenon or human behavior that we observe. So this I use ChatGPT. Okay, so this here, right, the main thing is to understand what is the environment like, what kind of environment do the students are the students in, and what kind of environment do the parents are the parents exposed to also. So are the parents role modeling the desired behavior? Are they setting boundaries? Are they planning non-digital activities? How are they guiding the child? Because the child is at home, spending a lot of time at home. The use of the devices are not in school, so parents are the ones with the strongest direct influence. They cannot expect the school to be the ones to manage their children for them. We can set up some guidelines, but the people who have to so-called police and engage the child on the use of devices must be the parents, and parents have to be very clear of that. So for us, we can support the parents, we can align the values, we can sing the same tune, we can give them some handles, but we cannot do the parenting for the parent. Yeah, then we can also look out for external influences, because the reality is that a lot of families are dual income families. Some parents have very different work schedules whereby they may not be able to monitor the child so often. Yeah, so this is the reality of it, and that's where we have to guide the parents on thinking of substitutes instead. Then we also have to address some maybe cultural norms, cultural beliefs, because we know of families whereby there's absolutely no boundaries when it comes to device users, right? When they reach P6 or P5, old enough to have a phone, you just give the phone. They don't have conversations about whether or not social media is appropriate, whether or not they have to put their phone in their parents' room by like 10 p.m. They don't have that kind of conversation. And worse still is when parents equate technology with rewards. So if you do well for this, you get this. Then it becomes a bit difficult for them to set the guidelines regarding mobile phone use. So very importantly, I guess, for parents with younger children before they go to secondary school especially, it's good to have all these guidelines in place first before things become a bit more out of hand and difficult to manage. Yeah, and then of course we know that after pandemic, it's very normal for them to require the use of the laptop or to have a phone. So I think this year is not easy lah, and especially during the pandemic, if the guidelines or the boundaries were not set well, then it becomes more challenging now after pandemic, where some of these behaviors have already been very deep rooted. Okay, so some things you can get the parents to think about is whether or not they are modeling the behavior that they want, whether they give any, like, because now at an older age, right, it's not so simple as you just take away the device and that's it. You have to kind of explain, rationalize, you have to set boundaries, you have to set the guidelines for the child before you just take away the phone. Yeah, so some parents with a bit more old school thinking is, I just go hard, but going hard may not be the way lah. Yeah, so really there needs to be a conversation, and this is not easy, and parents have to commit themselves to it. Okay, and this next one is it's important that the parents first come from a place of understanding first and not assume that it's just addiction. Yeah, so this part is something where you can get the parents to reflect on first and going deeper. Yeah, and like I said at the start, this is not an instantaneous solution. Behavior is so hard to change, so they have to recognize that it will take time lah, and they have to be patient in the process. Okay, so this here is the framework that you can use to engage the parent, to help the parent to talk to the child. I won't go into deep explanation about this because again I got this from ChatGPT, so I think this here quite self-explanatory. So there are a few things parents can do first, because I think they need to have a good relationship before any correction can happen. If the relationship is so bad to begin with, right, why would the child listen to the parent? Yeah, so this part is really about the relationship building first, which I think some parents may find it counterintuitive. So it's really about having a good relationship, understanding the fundamental reasons why the child is using playing games so much first, before we can figure out what is the best way forward. So the first part is to observe without judgment first. Sorry, the fighter jets are just very busy. Okay, so I hope that the noise is not too loud. Then the next part is what I've said already. Ask open-ended questions, be curious, not critical, so that the child is not so defensive. Let them speak, let them talk, so the child feels safe to open up and to find more, to share more, so parents can also find out more. Yeah, so if a conversation is a one-way conversation, then there's no point you cannot get anything out of it. Yeah. Then the third part is very important. I think parents also need to kind of figure out what the game is, not just assume that games are all inherently bad. There are some good things that we can definitely get from games. So even for the first game that we saw just now, right, the logic game, right, the game with the planks, right, I'm sure you can find out one or two positive things to say about it. So for example, one thing I can think of is, it helps me in problem solving, right, or it helps me in like strategic thinking, right, strategizing which one to drop first, right. If I'm working with a friend, then I'm learning how to improve my social skills, my communication skills. So there's definitely something positive to take away from every game. It's just whether or not I'm sacrificing other things when I'm involved in this game. So definitely there is something that parents can do to see the potential benefit that games have. Then hopefully at this stage parents can be better able to name the need behind the screen, like why are they playing so often, and then this helps to tackle the deep-rooted question, and hopefully that makes them less reliant on games as a form of escape. Okay, then I cannot emphasize this enough, that the rules at this age, especially for teenagers, it has to be a co-owned boundary, and it should be at a stage whereby everyone is calm, they are motivated to set this boundary. It shouldn't be it shouldn't be a top-down kind of thing lah. And then I think parents should also role model how they are not so dependent on their devices also. Yeah, so at this age, teenagers, they are people will say rebellious, but I think they're also looking out for what you're doing. If you are not doing what you preach, right, then you're not going to be very convincing, especially in the home environment. Yeah, so if you are watching, let's say, K-drama till 2 a.m. and then you tell your child not to play games till 2 a.m., I think the child will not find it convincing enough lah. So unfortunately, this part parents would have to role model and to show how screen-free routines at home is possible. Yeah, so this will be a good opportunity for families to talk about it. Okay, and then the next one is, we don't just restrict, right? If we just say that, no, you're not allowed to do this anymore, but we don't give a meaningful substitution, then what are they going to do in that 2 hours that they're used to playing games for, let's say, a sense of freedom? So there needs to be something to substitute this, and hopefully it is a screen-free way or something that is a bit more productive. Yeah, we cannot expect the child to just study and study and study lah. I think that's not realistic also. So there has to be a healthy substitute. So I think that we don't want a situation whereby we just restrict, and then teenagers being teenagers, they will just find another way to get around it and to hide and to lie about it, which I think will not help the situation. Okay, so hopefully this gives an idea. Okay, so of course, for myself, I joined this parenting group on Facebook lah. Okay, and it's quite interesting to see what parents complain about their children. I mean, I have no children, right? So it's quite interesting to see what some comments parents make about children, and these are some things that they will say. So I think sometimes when they have this very fixed mindset, right, it's not helpful. If you want change, then if your mindset about your child is already so negative, right, then the child can feel it lah. Like, my mom or my dad don't even believe that I can change, then why bother changing? Yeah, so this is something you can talk to parents about. Okay, Then this year is also about gaming. Maybe parents have this deep-rooted belief that games are all inherently bad. So this is another area whereby we can engage parents also to help them to see that actually there are some good things, but of course in moderation. Okay, or parents who are just basically too tired, their relationship with the child is broken to such a state whereby they really cannot get a hold of the child, then I think at this point it's really about maybe family counseling really, or maybe asking the FSC for help. Games is just a symptom lah. There's something else about the relationship that has broken down so badly that you need deeper professional help. Yeah, it's not exactly something the teachers can just give 1 or 2 words of advice and then it can be cured. Yeah, so this year I think parents also have to figure out how to work on this aspect first. Alright, so this can be something that we can hope to guide parents also. We explain why the child is reliant on games. Maybe it fulfills a particular need. Then we reframe the parents' role. Okay, we also have to get parents to understand. Okay, you must upskill. You must learn this way of communicating with your child as a parenting skill. Provide them with this guidance. Yeah, and then we acknowledge their emotions, and then we give them some way, some handle to make them feel empowered to guide their children also. And then we also hope that through games we can help them to repair the relationship. So for example, if you ask, you intentionally want to find out about this game, ask your child to teach you how to play. Yeah, maybe have something to do together, and then hopefully from there the child also feels good. I'm able to teach my parent. Then it's an opportunity for them to have a shared hobby also. Okay, so yeah, maybe you will feel like Shumei, you don't have children, right? So it's very easy for you to make all these comments. You don't know how it's like being with a child who plays on the phone 24/7. All the free time is spent on games. Okay, maybe let me just show you. Okay, I asked the only person I know who is an avid gamer. This is my boyfriend's Steam account lah. You can see here 3,000 plus hours, 1,000 plus hours last played. Just screenshot today, by the way. Okay, so you must be thinking, so many hours spent on games, what else does he do? Is this healthy? Yeah, so sometimes I also ask myself, is this healthy? So if a parent comes to you and say that my child is playing all the time, must be addicted. Okay, so I will show you this here to help you to differentiate between healthy gaming dependency, or gaming addiction. Okay, so you can use this to help you to assess whether or not this person is playing games in a healthy way, is a healthy hobby still, or this person is actually addicted. Yeah, so of course my boyfriend plays more than 2 hours a day, especially during the weekends, but after work may not be so many hours lah. So you can see that if the person is still going to school, sleeping 8 hours a night, having good social life, then it's still a form of healthy gaming. Then whether or not this person can control means that when you say stop, okay, this is now 9 p.m. time to go to sleep, 10 p.m. time to go to sleep, is this person able to do that? Or it will become a battle every time you say, okay, let's stop playing, let's go out for a meal, let's go out for exercise. If the person is unable to stop and the person puts up a lot of resistance, then we know that maybe this person is not playing healthily anymore. Yeah, and then for the mood wise, okay, is this person incredibly upset, aggressive even, or being very angry when they lose a game, a lot of vulgarities, a lot of violent behavior, throwing things, then we know that this one is more than just healthy gaming, right? Or if the person feels like a strong sense of anxiety or anger when they're not playing, then we know that it's a little bit more towards addiction. So addiction is a very loaded term lah. So you think of it like addiction, like let's say drug addiction, gambling addiction. So addiction is a very strong term, but I think for many parents they use it quite loosely if once they see the person is on the phone a lot. So I think it's important to clarify, is this person still functioning normally in society? Is this person able to regulate his or her emotions when it comes to games? And if the person can, then while the number of hours are very high, actually it's still healthy gaming. Okay, so this here is just about time spent, control, mood changes. What about the social impact? Does this person have friends in real life? Is this person able to interact with people in real life, or are they just completely isolated? They only talk to their gaming friends over the headset. Yeah, do they have friends lah? So I think if they start avoiding people, avoiding having real life interaction, then that is definitely serious. Then academic impact, is this person still able to go to school, able to complete tasks, or is it affecting their responsibilities, their ability to complete their responsibilities? So the last one over here on this slide is whether or not they're able to sleep well, their health is still good. Is it a case whereby they neglect their eating, neglecting sleeping, don't shower just to play more games? Then that is definitely leaning towards addiction. But if the person is still, doing what it needs to be to be a normal functioning human being, then okay, it's still considered healthy gaming. So does the person have interest in other hobbies or only motivated by gaming? Is the person able to respond to feedback regarding boundaries on gaming? Is this person lying, sneaking, stealing things, stealing money in order to fund their gaming, or become aggressive when you don't allow them to? So then that is addiction. Yeah. And then the last one is if they're aware that they play a lot of games. So based on these nine step, even though my boyfriend plays a lot of games, I know it's still within healthy gaming lah. Yeah, or still functioning adult lah. Yeah. Okay, so last part here, some guiding questions to engage parents. Okay, you can guide them to think about their routine, other ways to connect with the child, and help them to change their mindset lah. I think that's very important because as I've said many times, I think many times we go in with the mindset that games are inherently bad and the child is inherently just rebellious and there's no worth to playing games at all. Then it really defeats the purpose. It is very challenging to have a meaningful conversation about games, especially when teenagers are playing it a lot. So I think these are some questions we can help parents to reflect on so that it becomes a lot easier to manage their child's playing of games. Okay, so some other resources. Okay, and I think I hide some slides, but I would put it in the handouts. Substitution activities that they can think of and they can try out to help to fulfill certain needs that are fulfilled by the games. So I hope that this 30+ minute video is informative enough. If there are things that are not clear or I go through it a bit too fast, you can check in with me. But I have to be frank with you because I don't play games, so I may have to go and ask other people or rely on ChatGPT for some insight also lah. Yeah, but I think we can all learn together. So if there's anything you are unsure of and you ask me, and I can just pass on the question and find out more also. Yeah, thank you so much. I hope that this has been helpful. Bye bye.